Today we have a very special opportunity to talk about the psychology of growing your trading business, growing you as a trader. As we shall see, a key idea is that how you structure your learning and development process will determine the odds of your success. You can take shortcuts and reduce your odds. You can do it the right way and increase your odds. And we will be discussing with you, based on actual experience with actual developing traders in a proprietary trading firm and my own experience working with developing traders in hedge funds, we will describe for you step by step the process that has worked best as far as creating expertise in trading.
If you want to learn 3 real-world setups that our traders use, including the simple setup that we teach all of our new traders and the setup that turned one of our traders into a 7-figure big money earner, check out the free webinar that we're currently running. Just go ahead and click the link that should be appearing right now at the top right-hand corner of your screen. That's going to open up this free registration page in the new window, so don't worry, you're not going to lose this video. You're going to learn more in a couple of hours from this trading workshop than from years of online education.
So let's begin with the idea of stages in performance development. Now, I would argue that these stages occur in any performance field. You could be a chess player, you could be an athlete, you could be a trader. There are distinct stages, and what you do is going to be different in each stage to further your development. The first stage is a novice stage, and that's where you're learning the basics. How do financial markets operate? What's a bid? What's an offer? What does volume mean when volume increases on a move? What does that actually mean when we have levels, price levels that are deemed to be significant? What does that mean? Where does that come from? These are all some of the basics of trading. And we need to learn those basics before we really know what we are doing in financial markets. It is at this stage that many people who offer quote unquote trading education fail. What they start with is what they call setups. They teach chart patterns or different kinds of relationships of variables and encourage young traders, developing traders, to trade off those. So there'll be some very quick identification and sharing of these setups, and right away, the developing traders go into trading. Now, think for a moment how absolutely crazy that is. Suppose, I teach in a medical school, suppose we had a medical student and we taught the medical student a few basic maneuvers about cutting a body open, about taking vital signs. And right away, we show them those basics and send them in to do surgery. What would happen? Of course, they would fail and the patient would fail. That's exactly what happens with many developing traders. In fact, research from Brad Barber and his associates finds that the percentage of independent traders who succeed in day trading is in the low single digits. That's really incredible. 95, 96, 97, 98% of all independent individual traders who try to become successful end up losing money on a year-over-year basis. The reason is not because they're stupid, and the reason is not because it is impossible to make money. The reason is because they skip the novice stage. They skip learning the basics, and they start trying to trade without having a real grasp of what they're doing. And as a result, they lose money and they end up disappointed. So the beginning part of performance development, that novice stage, the person is not trading. They're learning about markets and how markets move and what makes markets unique and what movements in markets really mean. Now, we get to the second stage, which is a stage of competence. Here's where we start trying out trading. And very often, as at SMB, this is in simulation mode. In other words, we're keeping score, we're placing actual trades, but not with real capital at work. We're practicing so that we can learn and make all of our mistakes without drawing down our money. The idea in the competence stage is to apply the knowledge, the information that we obtained during our novice phase and develop some consistency. A, in identifying opportunity, and B, in actually trading that opportunity. And we practice trade and practice trade and practice trade, and we identify our mistakes and we identify what we do right, and we figure out which markets work best for us, which trading strategies work best for us, which time frames work best for us. And when we identify our niche during this competence phase, we begin to establish some consistency in our performance numbers. All of this is before we are putting a single dollar at risk. It is in the expertise phase where we are building our trading, that we are going live and then growing our risk-taking, doing the very things that made us consistent in that earlier phase. So this is a real-time application of our learning. And once again, as here at SMB, there's an emphasis on rapidly identifying what am I doing well so that I can keep doing it, what am I doing that needs improvement, and how can I set goals for the next day, the next week, the next month that will move me forward in my performance. Mike?
Well, when I think about stages at SMB, I think about a foundation. So, when I'm asked this question, what are the stages in performance? I'll say, well, first there's foundation. For us, that means there's 2 training programs that people take, SMB DNA and the Winning Trader. And then the next stage that people go through is sampling, which I think a lot of retail traders don't embrace fully. So lots of independent retail traders want to go to one coach, one educator, one place, learn a few setups, absorb them, apply them, and go ahead and become rich. And if that doesn't occur, they make one of 2 conclusions. One, either the person that they learned from is a fraud, or they themselves aren't good enough to be traders. And what we see at our desk is different from that, which is that people are exposed and trying and sampling lots of different types of setups. So even though we are mostly active short-term traders, there's lots of different types of ways to attack markets as short-term active traders. And they sample with setups that traders on the desk have traded with HEDGE and get experience with them, and then for themselves figure out which ones they think are best for them. And so they go through that stage. And then as they're going through the sampling stage, and there's a really good book about this idea written by David Epstein called range. There's this myth out there that's developed probably since Tiger Woods has become so great, that you start doing something at age 2, focus on it, that's how you become really great at something. And the book is about how, no, actually the better course to get to expertise is, if you want to be a great musician, is to play a lot of different instruments, and only when you're older should you focus on the one instrument that you think you can become great at. If you want to be an elite athlete, play lots of different sports, and only when you're older, focus on the one sport that you think you have talent in and are exceeding in. And so we are doing that here as well. We are sampling different types of setups. The next stage is acclimation to technology. We've got great technology here. Guys need to learn how to build filters. They need to build scripts. They need to build models so that they're supplementing their idea generation and their edge. And then the next stage is being consistently profitable. And then the next stage is breadth. And then the next stage is advanced breadth. That's why we have Dr. Steenbarger. Today we were talking about, with 2 of our top traders, the structuring of particular options trades on trades that they were risking hundreds of thousands of dollars in this month and had results on them. And so you will notice that, and I'm sorry, and then in between, I skipped a stage. In between consistently profitable and breadth is sizing. And at each point along the curve, we want to be trying to win that stage. And there is a different focus, a different daily routine that goes into how you actually go about winning that stage.
If I could just jump in with one comment, Mike, that idea of sampling different strategies, so important, because that's how you're going to find out what your strengths are and how those sync up or don't sync up with the particular market, particular time frame, particular strategy that you're looking at. But if you're going to sample different strategies, that implies that you need to have multiple mentors. You have to have people who can show you these different strategies. And so just to try to copy one person is not optimal for your learning curve. You want to see what many different people are doing successfully, and then synthesize that ultimately into your own style.
Let me follow up there. So I think one of the things that I can offer from my seat in the trading community is to share, hey, who's doing well here at SMB? And then we do work with some people outside the firm. Who are these elite traders? Why are these elite traders doing particularly well? And so I will, on the topic that you raised, Dr. Steenbarger, fill in a story about the very last trader who earned a green shirt for the first time at our firm. So at our firm, if you make $1 million net in P&L for the year, you earn a green shirt. And the trader who just earned a green shirt last year for the first time, when he first started his trading career, he was with a different coach than he has now. And he was trading different strategies than he trades now. Right. And he was flailing. Super talented, super talented. I still remember the first time I ever met him. And the type of person who, when you meet right away, you just know this is a different level of intelligence and bandwidth and drive than other people. And he was flailing. And it was, a good 9-12 months into his trading career. And we had to switch his coach. We had to get him trading different types of setups that better met his skill set. And when he did, and only when he did he start to get on the right track to be doing better. And something else happened, which was magical for the firm, which is the coach who ended up helping him get on the right track, that coach, his trading completely started to improve as well. He took that coach to a completely higher level. So finding that right niche, embracing the need to sample, that maybe you're not going to get things right away. And then even when you get some things right, to keep building. Independent retail traders can do more of that. Would be wise to do more of that.
Okay, so a couple of key ideas here. The first one is that mentoring and coaching needs vary according to the stage of development that you are at. So what you need from a mentor and coach in the very beginning phase, that novice phase, very different from when you've developed some expertise. What that implies is that success, expertise, consists of multiple learning curves. You have a learning curve as a novice, you have an intermediate learning curve when you're developing your competence, and you have a new learning curve as an expert trader. And so you want to think through, where am I at in my trading career, in my trading process, and what are the needs that I have right here, right now? Many traders fail because they are not doing what they need to be doing at their particular juncture in their learning process. Often they're jumping ahead, trying to learn many different things, trying to bump up their sizing very quickly, trying to take shortcuts to that expertise level, when in fact they need to solidify their more basic skills. The other reason that this is necessary is because, unlike certain performance arenas, markets, financial markets, are always changing. If I'm a basketball player, I know that the dimensions of the basketball court are going to stay the same from game to game and year to year. The height of the rim is going to stay the same from game to game, year to year. But financial markets can differ tremendously from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. And so that also ensures that we need time to go through each of our stages, and it ensures that we will constantly go through a learning process. I've worked with developing traders in professional trading firms of different kinds, and I have never seen one who has developed both consistency and high profitability in a period of less than a year or even more than a year. Traders who are attempting to shortcut the learning process by trading, putting their capital at risk within a few weeks or a few months of starting their learning, are really shortchanging themselves.
We've taught one over the course of, since 2005, we've taught one trader, only one, since 2005, who made over $1 million in his first year. Super talented, almost a prodigy, but one. And so I want to talk about your thought about being in certain stages. And so we've got, you can't see this, but we actually have a lot of people in the room who are interns and newer traders and guests. And they're furiously taking notes for everything Dr. Steenbarger is saying. But one of the things that all the guys in the room need to be doing is having a daily routine that centers around how they're going to improve daily to figure out what kind of trades they're going to be taking, how they're going to be building their playbooks. The second book I wrote is called The Playbook, and it's this idea of how you build your trading business. And so I mentioned before that one of the things that I do is and one of the things I started doing in 2018 is working with some select people outside the firm. Dr. Steenbarger works with some of the more sophisticated traders in the world. So on a significantly smaller scale, there's a handful of people that I work with outside the firm, and I do that to grow. I do that so I can offer our guys more and I can learn more. And that's been a great decision and been very rewarding. One of those particular people that I work with is a tremendous active trader, north of $4 million a year. And I will come in to rooms that we're sitting in right here, and I will say to the newer guys, one of the things that you have to learn how to do to be an active intraday trader is to learn how to read the tape. And we will later today have a 12:30 meeting where we watch film back together of important tape from one of our junior guys. And guys need to record their screens, and you need to go back and watch the moments that are most important in the stocks you're trading to see the nuances that led to these big moves. And so when I say that, and I can tell you recently that one of our junior guys was going over a big trade that he made. I was sitting in the back, trying not to say anything, just observing. And he's going over this big trade in Roku, and it makes this huge move away from price. And I've just got to chime in here. And I say to the trader, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a perfect example right there of tape you need to be going back and watching and seeing why that actually moved away from price so aggressively, and see if you can catch the nuances to that. And if you do not believe me, one of the people that I work with, this one terrific trader, the very thing he's working on right now in his trading to get better from where he's at is watching back tape. He slices it up of the very important moments in the stocks that he's trading. And so, when we talk about stages, we need to be thinking about winning stages. When we talk about winning stages, we need to be doing things like that. You want to be consistently profitable, and one of the skills you need to learn is reading the tape. Part of your daily routine needs to be watching back more tape than just in real time. Because that's what other guys who are great are doing. And they are, and we talked about this today, the guys that are great, they are different. They burn differently than the average trader. They take it more personally, it upsets them more. You said something today, which I'll share with guys, good is not good enough. Every day, good is not good enough. Don't come in to a monthly meeting and say I did good. That's not good enough. These guys, when they underperform, it really bothers them, and they immediately come up with solutions to get better. And so that is, and it stands out. Their drive and their commitment to solutions.
Just a quick addition to that. Two of the key skills involved in active short-term trading. One is pattern recognition. The other is speed and breadth of perception. Successful traders recognize patterns quickly, and they are watching a number of different areas of opportunity for those patterns. In any field, pattern recognition is a function of exposure. It's a function of repetition. When medical students decide they're going to go into radiology, how do they learn how to read the scans, the X-ray scans, the CAT scans, so forth? How do they learn to read it? Well, they look at one after another, after another, after another, and they pick up on patterns. There's a huge amount of practice and repetition before they actually become experts. And so that's what Mike is talking about. The successful traders aren't just viewing markets, they are reviewing markets. They are going back on tape and watching what happened in markets, how it's set up, what they could have done differently. They're getting many more reps than the average trader by viewing and reviewing and viewing and reviewing, and they become expert at pattern recognition.
There's a really good book, The Sports Gene, that talks about this with athletes. And so they studied elite hitters and elite tennis players. So if you're a tennis player and somebody's serving, you've got to return a 140-mile-an-hour serve. And so, how do you do that? And if you're a baseball batter, somebody 60 feet 6 inches away is throwing 100 miles an hour at you. How do you hit that? And so, when people were first studying these elite athletes, the thought was, well, their reflexes must be superior to the average athlete. And it turned out when they studied these elite athletes that wasn't true at all. Their reflexes are actually no better than the average pretty good athlete. It turned out that what they had learned to do is they learned how to decipher the pattern as to where the ball was going to go by watching the pitcher's motion or the server's serve. And if you take that same elite Major League Baseball batter like Albert Pujols, who can hit, back in the day, 100-mile-an-hour fastball, when you put him in front of a softball pitcher like Jenny Finch, and she throws underhand, and she's not throwing any harder than and she's throwing a ball that's bigger, he literally can't hit it. And it's because he doesn't have the pattern recognition skills to hit an underhand softball. And so, as a trader, sometimes you sit there and you're like, oh, the market's moving too quickly, or I didn't see this, or I didn't see that important news from the tape that would have helped me get into a particular trade. It's because you don't yet have the skills to be able to identify the information that's important. But you can build it.
One last idea. Something I mentioned in one of my books. Think about it, in any performance field, expert performers spend more time practicing than they do actually performing. Think of Olympic athletes. Think of chess champions. They spend more time practicing, and that's what gives that pattern recognition. They spend more time practicing than actually formally performing. For many developing traders, the reverse is the case. They spend their time trading, sitting in front of the screens, and then when the market closes, what do? They meet me at the bar. But they're not practicing. They're not spending the time practicing. And that is a main reason they don't pick up the patterns. It's a main reason they don't pick up the expertise. Shall we jump ahead?
Yes.
Let me just quickly mention here with this one. I teach in a medical school. I see how physicians develop. Physicians go through a novice, a competence, an expertise stage, just like traders. But with physicians, they rotate to different services. So they'll spend a certain amount of time in internal medicine, a certain amount of time in pediatrics, a certain amount of time in psychiatry, and so forth. And they're learning in groups. The senior medical students are teaching the junior medical students. The junior residents are teaching the senior medical students. The attending physicians are teaching the senior residents. And so the slogan becomes, each one teach one. It turns out that learning curves are hastened. We go through our learning curve much more quickly and effectively when we learn from multiple sources. And we improve our learning not only when we absorb from others, but when we teach others. And so all of this is prefatory to the point that some of the best learning and development occurs in team settings. Think about Olympic teams, think about sports teams. Because each one teach one, everyone is giving everyone else feedback, everyone is learning from each other's experience. This is something that we can do by connecting with other traders, by operating within trading communities. A major point here is that a great way to sabotage our development is to take too much risk too quickly. An important part of the psychology of development is the cultivation of confidence. As we're learning, we need to feel competent. We need to feel in control. We need to feel that we are moving forward. And it's that internalized sense of competence that helps us eventually take the significant levels of risk to make meaningful amounts of money. What that means is we have to be very, very, very good at risk management. Because if we don't avoid blow-ups, we end up traumatizing ourselves, setting ourselves back psychologically, and we don't develop that competence and confidence. And so risk management keeps us in the game and allows us to develop and internalize a sense of mastery that eventually helps us with risk-taking. What that also means is that failures, trades that don't work out, have to be planned. In other words, we know in advance how much we're risking, and we normalize failure. We know that many, many, many successful traders don't have much different from a 50-50 win rate. And so we want to expect that we're going to make mistakes. We expect that trades won't work out. We normalize that so that it doesn't throw us psychologically. In any learning process, first we observe something being done, then we have others observe us doing it and trying it, and finally we try it independently on our own. The purpose of observing it and having others observe us before we do it on our own is to build the sense of mastery.
So I think we've both written about this. So, well, how do you build confidence? And we've both written about the idea of small wins. People who have won in the past get used to winning. And so, good thing to do is set a small goal for yourself that you can accomplish, an accomplishment, and then go from there. Small wins, small wins, small wins. We were sitting in a meeting today where, and I think sometimes people think professional, experienced traders always get things right, always guess things right, always predict things right. Man, if I could just be that senior, experienced trader who has a house in the Hamptons and a beautiful family and a Ferrari. I don't know what people drive these days. I drive a Honda Pilot myself, which we love in our family with my 2 kids.
Smart car.
But they feel like that's going to make them happy, and that's the place that they want to get with their life. The experienced traders that we work with, yes, they have a lot of those things, but their trading oftentimes is met with challenges, with bumps. We were talking to one of our best traders, if not our best trader here this morning, who was up $400,000 this month, walked in on kind of a bad break, and was down $200,000 on a swing position, and was talking about how he could have handled that position better overall. And Dr. Steenbarger said, look, next time that happens to you, give me a call and let's have a reset. Let's talk you through that. But those things happen to people who are really succeeding and growing. We had a conversation with a junior trader who doubled his risk, certainly succeeding as a trader overall. One of the people who is making it, and doubled his risk overall, and this month was flat, and was talking about how he was making more on his best days, but losing too much. And we were talking through, and he had made some corrections to his trading system from smaller size that he realized he had to get rid of. And then we were talking to another trader who I was trying to push to risk a different amount on A++ trades, and so that he could maybe accelerate his learning curve and get used to risk a little bit more. And Dr. Steenbarger chimed in. Sometimes certain people aren't wired to take on lots more risk. But the trader sort of said, I don't know if I'm really ready for that. And independently wanted to sort of take a step back. So there's a real process to how experienced traders are trading bigger. And a lot of that is making mistakes, going through the experience, feeling, as you have written about, feeling the heavier weights, getting used to the heavier weights, it hurting. It hurts at first to lift the heavier weights. Sometimes they fall on you. Sometimes you need somebody like Dr. Steenbarger to pick them off of you to take that next step.
So why does teamwork work in the learning process? Why should you not be isolated as a developing trader? One is the power of social learning, which means that we learn not only from our experience, but the experience of others. Mike and Steve at SMB have been instrumental in having the traders share their report cards, share their monthly reviews and their goals. So everyone has the opportunity, particularly within teams, to learn with each other and from each other. Teams also offer the power of social support. There are always setbacks in learning. There are always setbacks in trading. When you have teammates that you're close to, who you care about, you offer them support, they offer you support, you're learning from them, they're learning from you, and that keeps you going, that keeps your energy high even when things aren't going well. Ultimately, that helps make learning fun. Now, this is a very important point because it turns out that our positive emotional experience, what's called our well-being, in the psychology research is linked to A, our creativity, B, our productivity, and C, our learning. When we are in a positive mindset, we absorb more information. When we're in a negative mindset, we become self-preoccupied and we don't take in information. And so in a team setting, if we can make learning fun, if we structure processes in engaging ways, ultimately we're going to learn more and we're going to learn faster.
So one of the teams we've been talking a lot about internally is Team Dan. And we have been recognizing their potential, I think, before a lot of other people. So we have other partners at the firm, and I've been saying, watch Team Dan, watch Team Dan. Team Dan's going to be one of the top teams. And I can see and hear the other partners at the firm and principals at the firm kind of scoffing at me like, it's just not in the P&L, Mike. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm actually, to myself, thinking, they just don't understand. And like, I know where this team's going to be in a year, and I know they're going to be at the top. And I guess I just will wait till they actually get there, and they can sort of recognize that we've been right all along. And so, and this month was a month where they were at the top. And they still have lots of upside to go from there. Each of those individual traders are better because they work together. The junior traders are better because they have a role model who has edge, who is pushing them and exposing them to edge. And that senior trader is doing better because he's getting access to more ideas. He's getting access to junior traders, and there's some junior traders in the room, so listen up. The junior traders are helping build technology to help Dan be able to express his edge bigger and broader. And when they're working together and kicking around ideas, they're coming up with new ways to make money. So one of the ways that they actually got to a new level is by doing very specific things to find new edge. And so that idea of working together. One thing I want to ask you, so
Okay.
there are retail and independent traders out there listening to us here. And one of the things I've always noticed about you is that you're constantly reaching out to people. And one of the things that I do wherever I go is I leave time where I say, I'm going to be in this city, reach out to me, I'm happy to meet. And I think lots of times people are like, you really did have time to meet? And I'm like, that's why I wrote that tweet and made that invitation. And so I think independent retail traders sit there and they're like, well, I don't have the resources of a prop firm and I can't work with all these really great, ambitious traders together in the same room, and they kind of just stop. Whereas what you role model really well is that you can create virtual teams, or you can reach out to other people and really build your network.
Yes, yes, and you know, there are so many trading communities that are forming. There are so many ways to link with people online who are really good people, people who have strengths similar to ours, interests, skills similar to ours. We can create virtual teams. We can create online teams, just like we have teams internally at SMB. And that can create the social support, and that can make the learning fun. I'll just mention really quickly that at hedge funds, talent grows at the desk. Beginning traders start as assistants, helping the hedge fund portfolio manager do what they're doing, and then grow gradually into becoming a partner. A huge part of the learning process is talking aloud every day what you're doing, why you're doing it. Having the portfolio manager, the mentor, talk aloud what they're doing, why they're doing it, and review at the end of the day, at the end of the week, what we did, why we did it, what worked, what didn't work. Every single day, that talking out loud and learning from a mentor absorbs and creates an enhanced learning environment, so that Brad Barber's research, as I mentioned, is that only 1, 2, 3, 4% of independent traders succeed. At hedge funds where I work, that number is easily closer to 50-50. It's a massive difference between learning in a structured environment with the right kind of teamwork, the right kind of practice, versus just winging it on one's own. Our challenge as independent traders is to create as much of that kind of environment as possible. Ultimately, when we act as a mentor, we're creating a win-win, because we are learning from the people we are mentoring, and we are also reinforcing our own learning. At those funds, they separate what I would call coaching from mentoring, so that mentors are not bogged down by the day-to-day kind of needs of the developing trader. And so a lot of that is the work that I do, more on the psychological side, and also to help their learning process, so that you're not always needing to go to a mentor to get the help that you would want. That integration of the coaching and mentoring, which is a big part of what we do here at SMB, again, can very much accelerate the learning curve, increase the odds of success. But it's back to that same point. How we structure our learning process will determine the odds of our success.
And I want to focus on our slides here a little bit right now and make a couple of points. So this is a slide and a picture of Shark receiving his black shirt from last year. You get a black shirt for making $2 million net in a year in trading profits, and he actually made much more than that. And this is a picture of Swang receiving his first black shirt, and you can see how happy he is. The way that the guys have grown here is for them to understand, measure, and build from their strengths. And so the Swang is a really good example of that. And the way that he became a standout trader was by doing something that lots of people will tell you is not the way that you can make a lot of money, scalping. If you ever have an edge in trading markets, no matter what it is, don't let anyone minimize that. Here, we want to build from what we're doing well. And Swang just happens to be somebody who is a very quick thinker. Off the charts processing power. And we were sitting in a monthly review with Swang, going over his month, and he was doing a bunch of longer term type of trading, excuse me, as he's growing as a trader, which is fine, and we encourage that. We're also saying that, let's not forget why you're so good. And I remember Dr. Steenbarger saying to Swang, your trading is world class.
Yep.
His strength is processing information very quickly. And we want to recognize that, cultivate that, and grow from that. And so whatever you're doing well at, do more of that. However you've been successful at the past, think of why you were successful and incorporate that into your trading. People become great at trading when they're doing special type of trading, when they're tapping into their special, unique gifts.
Great point. It's a great point. Let me wrap up just with really emphasizing that the odds are good that there is something that you do, some skill that you have that approaches world class. It's going to be different for all of us. The question, if you're going to become an expert trader, is how can you harness whatever skills and competencies you have that are world class, how can you harness them and leverage them in your trading? You're going to succeed by leveraging your strengths, what you're really good at. And when you do that, trading will be rewarding, it will be fun, because you're doing what comes best to you and most naturally to you.
Hey, go ahead and click our subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos that we're producing for you in the trading community. And please take the time to add your feedback in the comments section for what videos you'd like for us to produce next and what you found helpful from this video. From all of us at S&B, train and trade well.